June 12th edition of That's What G Said. Thank you for tuning in. Always a big thank you to Joey, the man who sings that theme song for That's What G Said. I was putting together the rundowns for this week's show, just all the topics that I think are interesting, that a lot of people are discussing, they see on social media, people are talking about on different shows, writing articles about, and there is just a lot going on. So over the next couple of episodes, on this particular episode, we're going to have a little Women's World Cup talk, the On This Day segment for June 12th, talk a little bit about the series I watched on Netflix, When They See Us, Belmont Friday and Saturday, recap what happened last weekend, talk a little bit about the Stable Duel contest, introduce you to a new sponsor, CindyCarava.com, talk some best hockey movies and what the 32 was like and what the field of 16 looks like, NBA Finals, US Open preview. That's just in this show alone. And then in the next episode, we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders getting selected for Hard Knocks, MLB, just kind of check in on everything and how it's been over the last couple weeks, who's hot, who's not. WWE, recap the Super Showdown, recap Raw and SmackDown, talk a little bit about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Continue on, we'll recap what happened in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Will there be a Game 7, or did the Raptors win it? And then talk about Billions, and then Big Little Lies, recap Season 2, Episode 1, and then preview the next episode. There's a ton going on. Oh, also, we'll have horse racing weekend stakes preview. I'll give you a couple horses I like in some of the stakes races over the weekend, some horses to bet. That'll be on the Friday episode. And we'll also talk Tyson Fury fight, recap the GGG fight. Is it going to be GGG Canelo? Yeah, there's so much I'm even forgetting. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. We saw the Women's World Cup begin. Now every team has played at least one game so far through. And we've seen France, Germany, Spain, Norway, Italy, Brazil, England, Canada win. A tie with Argentina, Japan. USA won 13-0. They beat Thailand. And USA is the favorite to win. And Thailand, of every team in the World Cup, they are the longest shot to win. So it was the most likely winner versus the least likely winner in this case. And the U.S. women now, they're looking for their 4th World Cup. They're the defending champs. Alex Morgan scored 5 goals, only the second woman ever to score 5 goals in a World Cup game. They won the shots on goal advantage, 39-2. It's the first ever World Cup for Thailand, so they're just happy to be here, but obviously not the best way you want to start out when you get beat 13-0. There's been a lot of talk about the USA. Did they need to rub it in like that, 13-0? My thoughts on it. Remember, at this stage of the tournament, goal differential does matter. So, goals scored matters. Pitching a shutout matters. That matters. I'm not concerned about all the goals they scored. For me, towards the end, when they're up 8, 9, 10, 11, nothing, the celebrations did seem a little bit too much because it's already out of hand at that point. But then to flip it the other way, right? This is the World Cup, the best tournament. All of these women have been working their entire lives to get here. This is against the best teams in the biggest moments. If they don't get to celebrate now and be happy about scoring a goal in the World Cup, when can they? Right? It has to be the World Cup semifinal or only in the knockout rounds, right? So that's, it's tough. And it's hard in the moment to turn that off, right? You do something well that you've been working for your whole life, you're succeeding, you're not allowed to be ecstatic about it and be happy and be excited, something that you've been working towards forever. Nothing new for this team, though. They've been here before, a little different than the U.S. men. Next game for the women, they play Chile on Sunday, June the 16th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then they'll play Sweden on June the 20th, and that should be the toughest game in their group. Sweden is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10th choice right around there to win it all. So they're in the top half of, as far as the odds are concerned, of more likely winners. And so that should be the U.S. most difficult game in this first group. And, obviously they beat Chile. They're already going to be moving forward, whatever happens in that Sweden game. So the USA, France, in order of their odds, USA 7-4, France 7-2, Germany 11-2, England 7-1, Japan 16-1, Netherlands 16-1, Australia 20-1, Brazil, Sweden, Canada, Norway, China, Italy, South Korea, New Zealand, Scotland, Argentina, Chile, Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa, Jamaica, Thailand, in order of likeliest to least likely winner of the World Cup. Quick hit news. Wow. In the NBA right now, there is just so much buzz. It's like the finals aren't even happening, right? We have a good NBA finals going on, and this NBA finals alone, with the Durant injury, with the injuries, with Kawhi and how incredible he's been, can the Raptors win? Can they, dethrone this big monster that is the Golden State Warriors? There's a lot of fun in that series, but we just keep hearing about Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, what's going to happen with the Lakers, with LeBron, it's amazing, the soap opera and the drama that the NBA has come. Recently, now we just found out, Anthony Davis told the Celtics again, if they trade for him, he's leaving in a year. Kyrie Irving just changed his agent. He just parted with his longtime agent, and now he's expected to partner with Rock Nation Sports, who is Kevin Durant, and the ties with Jay-Z and to Brooklyn everyone is talking about. So, that's all going on just in the last couple hours. In the next few weeks, there are so many teams that their future can very easily be flipped, right? June 20th is the NBA draft. June 30th is free agency. So if the Pelicans are trying to get this deal done right now because they want to, if they're going to get some picks back, they want to be able to make their own picks or deal those picks for someone they want. They want to do this before. And all the talk about keeping Anthony Davis for a little bit in the season, if he plays one game for you and gets hurt and he's done for the year, you get nothing back for him. You get nothing. He just walks. So you have to get something for him. And now there are, with the Durant injury now, how does the Durant injury change where some of these players are going to go, or maybe where Durant's going to go? Maybe where Kawhi or Kyrie's going to go? Maybe the length, because now we know that Durant's done for a year. He's out all of next year. He will not be playing. How do they approach it? Somebody sign him long term and just sit him out for the year, and then maybe you're trying to tank all of next year and maybe even get a pick, so that way you have Durant and a pick coming back the year after? Or is he, what's going to happen? June 30th is free agency. June 20th is the NBA draft. Those are the two big days. And then what's going to happen for Golden State, Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, Klay Thompson? Who knows with any of them? Toronto, Kawhi. If Kawhi leaves, does Toronto just say, okay, now we're going to get rid of Lowry, we're going to get rid of Gasol, and we're going to build a team around Siakam, Anunoby, and Youngers? That's what we're going for now. How about the Lakers? They're in the mix with all of this, right? But they could be, the Lakers are the team that has the highest range of outcome, right? Would it really be surprising to see any one of these guys end up in the Lakers? Not really, but if the Lakers got nobody, it wouldn't be surprising. What about the Celtics? They're in the middle of all these conversations about all the free agents. Philly, the Clippers, the Knicks, the Pelicans, the Hornets, the Nets. The Rockets just recently said they're willing to blow their whole team up. They've been defeated by the Warriors now, and they realize that this same group is likely not going to beat Golden State, or that they need to make some changes. The Wizards with Bradley Beal as a trade piece we've been hearing about. But who knows who's even running things in Washington? The Grizzlies with Conley. You have AD, Beal, and Conley, who are not free agents, but we keep hearing about them as huge trade pieces that, their teams are probably thinking, yeah, maybe we do get some young pieces or some picks. Memphis could go Ja Morant. They're not going to maybe need Conley. And then what about all the free agents? Durant, Kawhi, Clay, Kyrie, Kemba, Butler, Harris, Vucevic, D'Angelo Russell, DeMarcus Cousins. All of that movement, there's 13 teams that I just mentioned that are involved in all of these rumors. That's half of the league. These next few weeks are going to be insane in the NBA. So crazy. So much fun. On this day, June the 12th, starting history. We're going to do a couple different sections of the On This Day. 1665, England installs municipal government in New York City. 1701, the Act of Settlement names Sophia, the Princess of Hanover, the next heir to the throne, for a further provision of the succession of the crown in the Protestant line. 1776, Virginia adopts the Declaration of Rights. 1792, Captain George Vancouver discovers the site of Vancouver, British Columbia. 1864, the Battle of Trevelyan Station ends. This was the bloodiest and the largest all-cavalry battle in the American Civil War. Major losses for the Union side. They had over 1,500 that were either wounded, captured, missing, or dead. 1897, perhaps the most severe earthquake in history in India. Shockwaves were felt over an area the size of Europe. 1923, Harry Houdini freed himself from a straitjacket while suspended upside down 40 feet above ground in New York City. 1942, Anne Frank gets her diary as a birthday present, a 13th birthday present from her dad. One of the more well-known publications ever. 1964, Nelson Mandela sentenced to life in prison, South Africa, for conspiring to overthrow the state, served 27 years. Later, when released, became the president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Let's move on to film and TV. Remember, I'm always using the onthisday.com website where I find all the great information for these On This Day history segment. So, film and TV. 1939, shooting starts on Dr. Cyclops. I remember learning all about this movie in film history class. It was the first ever American horror film made in 3-strip Technicolor. 1958, Make Me Laugh. TV game show last aired on ABC. 1963, one of the most expensive movies ever, Cleopatra, was released. Starring Elizabeth Taylor, it premiered in New York City. It was the highest grossing film of the year, but it lost money. It was the only time ever that the highest grossing film of the year lost money. It was absurd production cost. It's actually the third most expensive movie ever, only behind the 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and they made it a lot more worldwide. And Cleopatra, ton of money to make that movie. 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark premiered. The first Indiana Jones film that was produced by George Lucas, directed by Spielberg, and starring Harrison Ford. 1997, Batman and Robin premiered. George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell did not get reviewed well and still not really received very well. I love Clooney, but he's just not a Batman, right? Keaton was a good Batman. I thought Christian Bale has been a better Batman. Clooney just didn't feel Batman-y. Great actor, good looking, funny. Just not Batman, 2007, Transformers premiered with Shia, with Megan Fox. I liked the first Transformers. I thought it was really good. And then 2010, Toy Story 3 premiered, the first animated film to earn $1 billion. Let's move over to music. 1954, Rock Around the Clock is released. 1990, Mariah Carey's debut album. I was looking through her debut, and before we get it, she was the first artist since the Jackson 5 to have her first 4 singles top the U.S. charts. I didn't really love any the ones I remember. I don't really remember the first one debut album songs as much. Maybe just because I was a little bit younger, but we talk a little, "You'll always be my baby," or "One Sweet Day," Boys to Men, Little Fantasy, or All I Want for Christmas Is You. 'Cause it's just like honey. Oh, yeah. Some of those, or, yeah, a little One Sweet Day, I'd probably put up there. But that first album, I didn't remember, or I guess I didn't love any of the songs as much. Into sports. 1880. Johnny Richmond pitches the first Major League Baseball perfect game. 1896, J.T. Hearn sets a cricket record for the earliest date of taking 100 first-class wickets in a season. Okay. 1919, Walter Hagen wins his second U.S. Open. Little U.S. Open preview at the end of the show. Man of War wins the Belmont 1920. 1939, the Baseball Hall of Fame opens in Cooperstown. 1948, Ben Hogan wins the U.S. Open, the third of 9 majors. And Citation wins the Belmont, which completes the Triple Crown in 48. 1981, Larry Holmes TKOs Leon Spinks. 1990, Yankee reliever Dave Righetti was the 9th pitcher ever to 200 saves, and Rickey Henderson was the second ever to steal 900 bases. 2002, the Lakers beat the New Jersey Nets 4-0 in the NBA Finals. Oh, those were good times. Those are good times. 2009, Pittsburgh Penguins won their 3rd Stanley Cup. 2011, the Mavs beat the Heat 4-2. On this day, folks, want to introduce you to new sponsor. That's what G said. One of the more stressful events in life is moving. Everything that goes into the process of relocating. There's so many different factors that you have to worry about. I know someone who can make your life easier, and I'm very happy to introduce Cindy Carava as a new sponsor of That's What G Said podcast. If the name sounds familiar, Cindy is the wife of horse racing trainer Jack Carava, who's been a mainstay on the Southern California racing circuit for the last 30 years. Cindy Carava is a full-service realtor that can help you in many different ways: selling, purchasing, and leasing. She can help you find vendors like handymen, painters, landscapers, and gardeners that she personally uses in her own home. Also, if you need help with getting pre-approved for a home loan, Cindy can connect you to lenders that she works closely with and can highly recommend. Covering all parts of the San Gabriel Valley and parts of North San Diego County, Del Mar, Solana Beach, and Rancho Santa Fe. If you're just curious to see how much your home is worth, she can even do a free market analysis of your home's value. You can find Cindy on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, reviews about her on Yelp and Zillow, or the easiest way, cindycarava.com. You can find all of her information there. That's Cindy Carava, CARAVA.com. I've known her personally for almost a decade, and she's one of the most honest and genuine people I have ever met. Folks, she is exactly the type of person you can trust with any of your real estate needs. Get to cindycarava.com right now. Lots going on in the what I'm watching department. Obviously, there's always a million different sports I'm watching, but this weekend in particular, watched Big Little Lies, Billions. We'll talk about those both in the next episode. What I'm going to talk about in this episode is When They See Us. If you did not check out the When They See Us series on Netflix, it is excellent. Really, really good. The story is the real story of the Central Park Five, the boys who were wrongfully accused of committing a rape and assault in 1989. Corey Wise, Yusef Salaam, Antron McCrae, Kevin Richardson, and Raymond Santana. This is really intense. If you don't know the story, on April 19th, 1989, there was a jogger that was beaten and raped in Central Park. That very same night, there was a big group of around 30 teenagers, the ages 13 through 17. They were out in the park, quote unquote, wilding out, harassing people, throwing rocks, scaring people in the park. The police tied these two events together without really investigating anything. And you see all this side of the story in the series. They forced these 14 to 16-year-old boys to confess things that they did not do. They held these boys without food, drinks, and sleep for over 24 hours. They told them, if you just agree to this, we're going to let you go. Now remember, these are kids. These are kids that are scared in the police office, hungry, without sleep. I mean, it was intense. It's uncomfortable to watch at times. The series is very, very well done, and I think it's worth your time. Go check out When They See Us. There was zero physical evidence. There were inconsistencies in all of the forced and coerced confessions because they had these different boys all in different rooms, and they're basically getting one to admit that the other one did it. And the other one admits that a different one did it, but nobody admitted that they really had anything to do with anything. And everyone was different places around the park. I mean, it was a mess. And the prosecutor, Linda Fairstein, she has come off horribly. She looks, obviously, folks, now this is a show, right? This isn't exactly what happened. There are some liberties that are being taken to make any movie or show that's based upon events. We don't ever know exactly how accurate it is. But this woman now, even years after when the boys have been exonerated of all of their crimes, Linda still sticks to the story that they were somehow involved and that the person who came and admitted he was the one who raped and beat the jogger, that they were all tied together. And this woman now, she is not on social media after the backlash she's received since this Netflix series came out. She has been dropped by companies that she worked for, partnerships. She had awards that she received. Because up until 2002, these boys, she was like a hero. When they're in jail and they're serving their time, everybody thinks she's a hero for finding the boys who did this. And then the man who comes through and says, no, I was the one who did this. Now the narrative changes, right? Instead of the hero, she's the one that put these kids wrongfully in jail and did not make real attempts to go find out who really did this. It tells the story of all of the boys, all of these things I've been mentioning. Lots of involvement of Trump, who took out a big ad in the paper, was real against this story and the boys when this was happening. And I think you should definitely go spend a few minutes and check out When They See Us. And then also go watch Big Little Lies. You'll have a couple days. Catch up on Season 2, Episode 1, and Billions. We'll talk a little bit about those two very soon on the next episode will come out in the next 2 days. Belmont Friday, June the 7th. Let's go through what happened last weekend. Belmont Friday, and then we'll go through Belmont Saturday. Separation of Powers went wire to wire in the bed of roses. Shalone was second. Still no greatest stakes win for Shalone. Wasn't a lot of speed in there. I was real against Separation of Powers, so I was completely off in that race. It was a really solid weekend for Zayat Stables. Jiddu wins the allowance optional claimer. Majid wins the easy goer on Saturday, and it looks like he'll be moving on to bigger and better. 4 left. Very impressive in the Tremont for O'Neill. Youngster to keep an eye on. And then we saw Catalina Cruiser, who was the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile favorite last year. He was so impressive, and this was his first start of the season. It was a step slow as always, but he wins the Grade True North, and he's likely headed to the San Diego, down at Del Mar, and then maybe the Pacific Classic. Strike Power, who was second, he was very good, and he's a solid sprinter, and it looks like Strike Power will be headed to the Vanderbilt next. He'll probably hook up with the Recruiting Ready, who is right behind him. They might both be pointing towards the Vanderbilt. Chad Brown ran 1-2 in the Grade 2 New York. Homerique in Competition of Ideas. It was a tough trip for the top selection, Holy Helena, who was fourth. I think she is a playback, so write her down as a horse to playback next time out. And Homerique is now 2 for 2 in the U.S. and just continues to add on to that stable of stars that Chad Brown has. Let's move on to Belmont Saturday. Track was very fast. It was speed really was holding well throughout most of the day. Majid won the easy goer. The 2 horses that were a little disappointing, Outshine and Always Mining in there. But now it looks like Majid will be either in the Dwyer, the Haskell, or the Jim Dandy. They have options, but they will be stepping up. Rushing Fall wins the Grade 1 Just a Game, now 8 for 9. Has only lost one race. That was by a neck. Guess who? Oh yeah, Chad Brown with Rushing Fall. Beau Recall deserves a mention. She has been very good this year. 5 races, 3 wins in a couple seconds. She's only lost to Rushing Fall and Mitchell Road, a couple very nice ones. So Beau Recall continues to improve. She's in that top tier. How about Midnight Bisou? She's been unbelievable now. 4 for 4. She's won the Grade 3 Houston Ladies, the Grade 2 Azeri, the Grade 1 Apple Blossom, the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps, and she's so handy. The way she won, she was chasing lone speed in a small field. She was not favored. The track was playing nice to inside speed. She sat behind and she just came around and just went right by. We saw some awesome performances, though, over the weekend. We really did. Some good horses. World of Trouble wins the Grade 1 Jaipur. Since finishing second in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint at the end of 2018, World of Trouble is 5 for 5. Grade 1 wins now in the Carter and the Jaipur. Grade 1 wins on the turf and the dirt. Guarana winning the Grade 1 Acorn in just her second start by 6. She was favored over and easily defeated Serengeti Empress. And actually, Serengeti Empress ran very well to hold second in defeat. Best result of the day for me was Hog Creek Hustle winning the Grade 1 Woody Stevens. Hopefully, we're able to turn some of you on to Hog Creek Hustle on the preview podcast. 18-1 on top winner. How about the top 5 finishers in that race? 18-1, over 17-1, over 15-1, over 31-1, over 13-1. It looked like they were going to DQ Hog Creek Hustle. He caused Mind Control to check, but I will say, it also did look like Mind Control was backing up. Just inconsistencies in the disqualifications that we've seen again. There was a disqualification earlier in the card that was different than this one. That was different from the Derby. And remember, they're different jurisdictions. That's one of the problems. Met Mile. This is the race that I think has been a little, I don't want to say controversial, but there's been some debate about. We know the track was playing very fast, right? There were a lot of races where nobody was coming from behind. Mitole won. I think he was very impressive, and let's take nothing away from Mitole. He proved he can continue to go a little farther. He's a very, very nice animal. He won his 7th straight. Maybe he's the best horse in the race. But the way this race was unfolding, McKenzie was going to win. Mitole has never faced or held off a horse as good as McKenzie, or a horse who has as much bottom and fitness. Mitole runs against a lot of sprinters. And so this is a different type of horse that Mitole was going to have to hold off. If we didn't know the names of Mitole and McKenzie, we were just watching the race and what happened, we would have looked at it and said, okay, if not for the trouble that McKenzie had, he's going to win this race. Now, Mitole did have to deal with a lot of pressure, right? Between horses, dealing with a bunch of other speed. Not like he had some easy trip, but he had an opportunity. McKenzie didn't have an opportunity. McKenzie can't win the race in the first part of the race when he's just sitting back in the clear, right? The only chance he has to start his run, he was stopped 2 different times. Legit trouble when the momentum was moving best multiple times and he was asked for a run. Mitole ran hard all the way, but he was never impeded. That's the thing. He was never impeded. He had a tough race. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, Mitole ran better. But you can't judge it because it's an incomplete for McKenzie, right? It's an incomplete. And did I need McKenzie? Absolutely. But the funny thing is, generally, if I need a horse and they don't run well, or they don't win for me and they're just in the back, I'll be the first to be like, they didn't run well for me. I genuinely think McKenzie was going to win this race, whether or not I had a bet on him. I mean, when you go through the chart, the notes, they kind of discuss the trouble that McKenzie had. McKenzie guided over to the inside shortly after the start, became the third along that route when Thunder Snow secured the pocket coming up to the conclusion of the backstretch. Bided time during the run around the bend, began to inch his way to the outside as 3/4 was being completed. However, gotten caught behind a wall of equines, was about 3 wide at the commencement of the stretch run, still lacking room with any of sort which to launch a rally of his own. Checked when in close proximity to the heels of Thunder Snow, just inside the 8th pole, was then steadied a few strides later when beaten to the position by the same opponent, angled into a firm fit on path 2 right afterwards, attaining racing clearance for the first time during the stretch drive, kicked in willingly when given his cue, split foes late, and got up for the place. He had no shot. I mean, you don't generally see comments about a horse that are that much. That was a lot. That was all in the Equibase chart. That wasn't my words. Those were in the Equibase chart. So, Mitole fans, I know, he's great. He's awesome. I just think he would have finished second in this race. And that does, there are many races where the best horse finishes second or third because of the way the race shapes up. The way it was shaping up, McKenzie was right into contention, just nowhere to go. And unfortunately, it's a bummer because I just don't think we're going to see them race against each other, right? It sounds like McKenzie's going to run the Whitney, and it sounds like Mitole is going to be the Vanderbilt or the Forgo. Next, back to sprints. Thunder Snow came out of that race too, and he's awesome. He just keeps running well. Finished third. He will run in the Whitney next, most likely. When we get to Bricks and Mortar, Chad Brown runs 1, 2, 3 with Bricks and Mortar, Robert Bruce, and Raging Bull. Bricks and Mortar is now 9 for 11 overall, 4 for 4 on the year. He's won 5 in a row, and his wins are recently the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf, the Grade 2 Munoz, the Grade 1 Turf Classic, and the Grade 1 Manhattan. Brown won 7 of the 18 stakes from Thursday through Saturday over the weekend. In the Belmont, Sir Winston, great ride by Joel Rosario. And it was not the case with Tacitus, who was a wide second and maybe a little wider than what he needed to win the race. We'll leave it at that. Then Jovia runs third at a huge price. So it's Sir Winston, Tacitus, Jovia, Tax was fourth, Master Fencer, Spinoff, Everfast, Intrepid Heart, War of Will, Bourbon War. The Preakness horses didn't run very well, right? Everfast, War of Will, and Bourbon War. War of Will and Sir Winston both could prep in the Jim Dandy for the Travers, as could Tacitus. So we could see all of them in the Jim Dandy. Midnight Bisou looks like she'll be headed towards the Personal Insulin. August the 24th, World of Trouble could be the Vanderbilt or the Troy. Yeah, if we got World of Trouble, Mitole, Strike Power in that Vanderbilt, that would be a lot of fun. Majid, I mentioned Dwyer, Haskell, or Jim Dandy. Maximum Security got blood work done. The blood work came back okay. They're still deciding on whether or not they're going to run him on Sunday in the Pegasus. Bricks and Mortar, Robert Bruce, and Raging Bull all going to go point to the Arlington Million for Chad Brown. Rushing Fall, Home Reek, Competition of Ideas, and maybe Sister Charlie all could run in the Beverly D at Arlington. So if you didn't realize how loaded Chad Brown was, there you go. Maybe Rushing Fall against the boys, August the 10th in the Grade 1 4-star Dave. All the information I generally get a lot is from BRF. So DRF's, I think, the best place. When you get the news and the notes, that's where I get a lot of the articles and who's going where and what's happening, or just from, being on social media and seeing some of the connections say they're going to go to a certain place. Guarana could be in the CCA Oaks next, or the Test. Depends on if they want to stretch out to 1 1/8 or go 7 furlongs in the Test. July 20th or August 3rd Test. Separation of Powers, likely the Honorable Miss, and then the Ballerina. Cambier Park, pointing towards the Belmont Oaks. Tax, looking towards the Haskell. Bourbon War, who did not run well in the Belmont, he was dead last. They will likely try. They're going to give him a month off and then maybe point to grass. They have a race circled on August the 25th. That might be a good spot for Bourbon War to try the green for the first time. Staying in the horse racing world, if you saw over the weekend a lot of stable duel. Stable Duel. I was tweeting and Facebooking and Instagramming about it, and there were a lot of people on social media talking about it. What is Stable Duel? Okay, I'll tell you right now. It is fantasy horse racing. So, if you've ever played DraftKings or FanDuel, something like that, you understand. If you haven't, don't worry, it's not hard or difficult to understand. What happens is you have a salary cap. You have a certain amount of money that you're allowed to spend, and you have 10 slots that you need to fill with that salary cap. And you have the entire racing card that we played with on Belmont Saturday where you could fill. The way it works, if there's a horse that's a heavy favorite, they're going to cost you more of your salary cap. It's going to take more to pick a couple heavy favorites. So that you cannot pick the favorite in every race. It will not allow you to. You have to pick and choose. Other races, you have to use longer shots. So you really have to handicap. You get points if your horse runs first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. You get points, extra points based on how many lengths they win by. Now, you don't get extra points if they're based on the price of the horse, because that's already built into the salary cap. Price, if you get a long shot to win for you, that's awesome, and that is almost double or triple, because that means that you're going to have some other races where you have heavy favorites coming up and more logical winners coming up. There's a lot of strategy to it. It's really fun, and what's great about it is it gets you involved all throughout the day. You're watching, you're seeing yourself move up and down the leaderboard. You're picking your races where you go, okay, this is the race where I don't think you can beat the favorite. This is where let's just pick this horse. He's going to be first or second. He's going to be right there. And then these other races, okay, wide open. Let's take a shot here. We can use this horse who's not going to take up as much of our salary cap. It's a lot of fun. If you are a horse racing fan in any way, I'd recommend it. If you're a gambling fan in any way, I'd recommend it. If you're just a sports fan or a fantasy sports player in any way, I'd recommend it. Because it's like anything, different strategies to it. It's not even necessarily about all the horses. It's about, okay, which races are the best to chuck or go against the heavy favorites? Or how are you going to make an approach to setting up your team with the salary cap? Are you going to go, a lot of second, third type choice horses? Or are you going to go a couple heavy favorites and a couple bombs? Do you go more steady, or do you go like that where, if I can get one or two of those bombs in there and then I know I have a couple heavy favorites that are going to be really tough to keep out of the money? That's what's great. There's just so much strategy to it, even more so than handicapping the races, right? And so if you don't have a ton of money some weekends, like let's say it's an off weekend for your pay weekend. Hey, I know a lot about that. Let's say your kids or there's something comes up and you just don't have the money saved up, but maybe you have a few bucks that you can play. That's what's great about something like Stable Duel. You can get involved in the contest, and they'll let you know when, and you don't have to spend hundreds to thousands of dollars betting. You can get involved for a little bit, and then once your team is set, you're set for the whole day. You can watch all the races, you've handicapped them all, your opinion's there, and you've got that action. Get to StableDuel.com, follow Stable Duel on Twitter, @StableDuel. I had a blast. I was, up to 4th at one point. I ended up finishing 21st, and of course, they were paying out the top 20, and I was 21st. But they had over 300 entries in the contest first time out, and in this particular case, you had 10 slots where you could pick 10 horses throughout the card, any races. You could pick multiple horses in the same race if you want, but I don't really like doing that because I want to give myself an opportunity to win every race, right? Maybe there's a race where you feel like the exacta is boom, boom, and then the other race or two you don't feel as confident about, so you just steer clear. I understand that, but I want to give myself a shot every race. So I went for, 10 different races. What else in my notes? Yeah, I think 306 entries throughout the day. And they only promoted this thing for a day, really. So these contests moving forward will be awesome. I think they're going to have great participation even more. There'll be even more options. They've been going through the feedback, and that's what's great is that they want to get everyone's feedback. If you played in the first contest, send them some of your feedback. Let them know things that you liked. If there was something that you think maybe could slightly be changed or altered, maybe we could find this here or that. That's what they want to hear. They want this thing to be great. And the team, I've spoken with a couple different people, and they are just 100% behind making this a great user fan-friendly site, a place to go, and it's kind of a new thing in horse racing. There's been a lot of positive buzz about this, and to be fair, there's not a lot of positive buzz about new things in horse racing, or even a lot in horse racing lately. So I've not heard anyone really that disliked the way this went. It was a ton of fun. Like anything, I'm sure there will be a few changes or alterations in the next contest or as it moves forward, but follow Stable Duel, get to StableDuel.com. That way you'll know the next time they have a contest. Right now, it was just on the iOS, so you could play through your iPhone or your iPad, but it is coming through the Android. Ask around. It was a lot of fun. These people won money for nothing. This contest was a free contest. It was real easy to get through, right? Wasn't difficult to fill out your team and to get going. Great job. First time out, Stable Duel. I'd say in their first time, as a first time starter, I think they broke their maiden very, very impressively and very nicely. Stable Duel, heavy chalk, second time out to perform well. Great job, Stable Duel. Moving on to hockey. It is Stanley Cup Final Week, Game 7, happening today. So we were talking the best hockey movies ever. And there are 32 that made the initial grouping. Here are the 32. Slapshot, Miracle, Mighty Ducks, Mystery Alaska, Red Army, Youngblood, Goon, D2, and The Rocket were like the top tier ones. And then everyone else had a play-in when they had buys. Face Off, Broad Street Bullies, and Slapshot 2. They were in a group. Slapshot 2 won that group. Touch and Go, Net Worth, Goon 2, and Genius. They were in a group. Goon 2 won that group. 48% of the vote. Most Valuable Primate, The Mighty Ducks 3, Ice Guardians, and Go Figure. They were in a group of 4. Mighty Ducks 3 won 68%, which means they have 3 of the final 16. The Tooth Fairy, National Lampoon's Pucked and Gross Misconduct. They were in a group. The Tooth Fairy won that group 43%. The Cutting Edge, Waking Up Wally, Mr. Hockey, The Gordie Howe Story, and Hockey Night. They were in a group of 4. The Cutting Edge won that group. 48%. The Love Guru, Breakaway, Pond Hockey. They were in a group that was won by Breakaway with 40%. And then Sudden Death, In the Crease, and Slapshot 3. They were in a group. Sudden Death won that one 45%. So down to the Sweet 16 now of best hockey movies. And the way the bracket is set up in the Sweet 16. The number 1 seed, Slapshot, against the number 16, The Cutting Edge. All of these polls now are open on Twitter at It's Me, Gino B. So get to Twitter and vote Slapshot or The Cutting Edge. The Rocket, D2, The Mighty Ducks. Red Army is the 5 seed. Mighty Ducks 3, the 12 seed. Goon 2, the 13. Youngblood, the 4 seed. That's the first side of the bracket. Other side of the bracket, the number 2 seeded Miracle will face Breakaway, the 15. Goon as the 7 against Sudden Death as the 10. Mystery Alaska as the 6 versus Slapshot 2 as the 11. The Tooth Fairy as the 14 versus the Mighty Ducks as the 3 seed. Get right now to at It's Me, Gino B, to vote for the best hockey movie. And do me a favor, folks. Share it around with some of your friends that like hockey. When you see these coming up next week, I think we're going to talk golf movies, and then we'll have baseball, football, boxing still to come, other miscellaneous. Anytime you see a sport that maybe you don't love as much, but maybe you know some of your friends might get a kick out of talking about some of these movies or sharing some movies with me, please tag them or let them know about it. We're going to keep doing this now each week with a different sport all the way through. So Early on in the voting, Mighty Ducks is crushing the Tooth Fairy. That one won't change. Mystery Alaska has the lead on Slapshot 2. Sudden Death and Goon is one of the closer matchups, but Goon has the early lead, 57 to 43%. Miracle running away with in the matchup with Breakaway. Young Blood defeating Goon 2 right now, and then D3, the Mighty Ducks, is getting the win over Red Army early on. D2, the Mighty Ducks beating Rocket, and Slapshot crushing the Cutting Edge. So get to It's Me, Gino B. Vote for your favorites. If your favorite's losing, start voting for it and go tell a couple of your friends or your followers on social media, hey, just come vote on this poll real quick, and so the movie that I like can make it through another round, so he'll talk more about it. The movies I watched recently, what's great about the hockey movies I've noticed versus some of the other ones, a lot of these hockey movies are available on HBO Go, Netflix, YouTube, Vudu. They're out there for free. Almost all of them. The good ones are all really out there. So you can go check them all out if you want. The Mighty Ducks movies, they really still hold up, I gotta say. Now, keep in mind, folks, I love corny and I love sports. So a corny sports movie like that with a little bit of comedy. And remember when the Mighty Ducks movie comes out, right? I'm 6 years old, I think, when it came out. So these are right in my wheelhouse. I get that nostalgia when I watch them. I watch all three of them. You can watch them on HBO Go. And man, they are good. Get a little tear. A little Bombay with the Hawks. A little tear out there. Charlie. Banks. Banksy. Fulton off the streets. Good stuff. And then D2. The Junior Goodwill Games. D3 when they go to Eden Hall Academy. D3 is even better than I remember when I watched it. I actually prefer D2 of the three of them. I think D2 is awesome. When Bombay goes Hollywood for a little bit. And then they have to beat the big Iceland team. Go check out those Mighty Ducks movies. Once we get to the Final Four, one more round through, I'll really go a little more in depth about the ones that make it, which I'm assuming it's got to be Slapshot, right? It's got to be Miracle, got to be one of the Mighty Ducks movies. Young Blood, it looks like it's going to be in the mix. I mean, those are the top four. I'm curious to see if there are any major upsets, or if the Mighty Ducks movies they're gonna run into each other at some point. And right now, it looks like they're going to be 3 of the final 8. The U.S. Open. I don't really, ever even pretend to be a golf expert, but I enjoy watching golf. And right now it's fun because there is a really talented group of young, good golfers. And now Tiger's back in the mix. So you add Tiger with his success so far this year and recently to this group of new golfers who are just well studied, right? They've all grown up in a different world. And they're in great shape. They, analytically know everything about everything. They have very little weaknesses in their games, most of them. Right now, the odds over at Bet America, Dustin Johnson and Rory are the 2 co-favorites at plus 800. Brooks Koepka's at plus 900. Tiger is right behind him at plus 1100. Let's see. Contley at 1,600, Jordan Spieth at 2,000, Justin Thomas at 2,500, Ricky Fowler 2,500, and Justin Rose at 2,500. Someone, if you're looking to take just like a long shot swing on someone who hasn't been playing particularly that well, but I do think he has the ceiling to jump up and play well and contend, is Tony Finau. Maybe someone to throw a few bucks on, or to include if you play some kind of a DraftKings lineup or anything. And that's kind of a contrarian play, just because he hasn't really been coming into this as playing like his best. Tiger won the 2000 U.S. Open by a record 15 shots at Pebble Beach, where the U.S. Open is. Tiger just won the 2019 Masters, so he is obviously one of the top tier contenders in here. And anytime he's in the mix, what I think right now about Tiger is he seems like he's figured out his body and his health and what he needs to do and how he needs to prepare. It's hard when you go from being someone who is just so much better and so much more physically dominant than anyone. And, we see that in in every sport. It comes to mind the most for me, like in pitching with baseball players, when a pitcher can throw really hard and then they get later on in their career and they just don't have that fastball anymore and they have to throw more off-speed stuff and they have to be more of a pitcher. They have to paint the corners. They have to hit their spots a little bit better. They just can't blow it by somebody. That's what Tiger's experiencing right now. And he's figuring it out. I think it takes a while for you to come to terms with that, right? With Father Time. But once you come to terms with it and you say, okay, I can do this. I just have to be a little bit more cerebral. I still have an edge, like a mental edge over a lot of these golfers who are young, who have worshipped me, who know how good I am. You know, if they're going to play against me one-on-one or if we're matched up, paired up, they're in some trouble. How damn good is Brooks Koepka? Two-time defending U.S. Open champion, ranked number 1 in the world. You just can't knock him until he doesn't play well. You know, he's just always right there. Dustin Johnson, second in both majors this year, very good at Pebble Beach. Jordan Spieth, 3 straight top 10 finishes and has won at Pebble Beach before. Course play strong to iron golfers. That's where Tiger, maybe one of the better of all times in that department. Well, in every department, but Patrick Cantlay, the video he showed on Instagram of how thick the rough is, he tosses the ball, a couple different balls, you can't see it. It's completely just a couple feet thick. It's unbelievable how deep that rough is. A lot of talk about the type of greens and who is good on the POA greens. U.S. Open, big week in sports. Because now Game 6 in the NBA Finals is coming up. We saw the NBA Finals Game 5. The Warriors win 106-105 on the road. Steph Curry. 31 points, 10 for 23, 5 for 14 from 3, 8 rebounds and 7 assists. And Clay, 26 points, 9 for 21, 7 for 13, 3 points, 6 rebounds and 4 assists. Durant, the whole topic coming out of this game was Kevin Durant. He started the game. He scored 11 points and 2 rebounds. He had a block in 11 points in 12 minutes. And then, unfortunately, he gets hurt. And we have now found out that he has a ruptured Achilles. He's already had surgery, and he will miss the entire season next year. We're not talking about just the rest of this series. We're talking about next year. And how is that going to affect all of the other dominoes that have to fall? All of the other free agency. All the talks about where was he going to go? Is he going to stay in Golden State? Is he going to go to New York, Brooklyn, the Clippers? Where? Now to some of the other players who are going to team up with him, is it different? Let's get back to the game a little bit more. Draymond at 10 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal on the block. And then Boogie, when they get some contributions from DeMarcus Cousins, they get the 14.6 rebound, the assist, the steal, the block. They need that when Durant is out because their roster is depleted right now. They had a 14-point lead, the Warriors did, and they blew it, but they come back to win. Now Durant's out after having missed the previous 9 games. Kind of go through the game a little bit. Golden State was up by 6 at the end of the first quarter. They're also up by 6 at the half. By 10 with 4:50 left in the third. And then with a minute left to go in the third, they're still up 9. End of the third, they're up 8. Like they're right in that. They increased their lead from halftime. They're playing well. And then boom, to start the fourth quarter, it's only a 3-point game. With 6:54 left, it's 92-91 Golden State. So now Toronto's making their surge. And then Kawhi comes alive. He has a 10-point run by himself. 10 points and an assist. He initially hits a 3 to take the lead, 96-95. With 3:28 left, it's 103-97. Toronto has a 6-point lead. Kevon Looney got hurt. He's out of the game. Durant got hurt. He's out of the game. You have a banged-up Klay Thompson. You have a banged-up Iguodala. You have DeMarcus Cousins, who's obviously not in 100% shape or form right now after missing as much time as he did. You just don't have much out there for Golden State. And then what happens? Klay makes a 3. So they get down by 3 now. 103-100. They have a chance to go down by 1. It's an either-or call where the ball's hanging on the rim. DeMarcus Cousins goes to tip it in. They call offensive goaltending. It was questionable. Could have gone either way. Just didn't real either or call. So they could have been down 1 there. Instead, Golden State's still down 3. Lowry turns the ball over. Curry makes a 3. Now it's 103-103. They're tied with 122 left. Kawhi misses. Klay hits a 3. All of a sudden, they're down 6. Now they're up by 3. Real quick, 9-0 swing. Down 103-97. Now you're up 106-103. Lowry layup, 106-105. Just 1 point margin. Golden State's up. And that's where it finishes. That run that Kawhi made, though, from 5-13 to 3-28 in the game in the fourth quarter, he made 4 shots in a row, a 3-pointer, mid-range, a 3-pointer, and then deeper mid-range. He completely took the game over. And it looked like that was what Toronto had needed to win. That was it. They were going to win the NBA Finals right there. And the Warriors just would not go away. It would have been very easy for them to go away. On the road, Durant got hurt, Looney got hurt. Now you're down. This team just would not go away after it seemed like you played good basketball all throughout the night and you kind of had them with that, 5 to 10 point advantage all till about 6 minutes left, 8 minutes left in the game, and you could feel them creeping back into it at home like they've done. But the Warriors come back, and now you have to wonder, from the Toronto side, you got to feel a little bit nervous that you give this team another opportunity. Even though they don't have Durant, Looney said he's going to try to come back and play. You have to be a little bit worried that you gave this team an opportunity to come back when you could have just put him away. Did they ask too much of Durant? And now what's his future? Nobody made Durant do anything for me. He did what he wanted to do. He wanted to play. But there are so many questions. How much this injury affects him. What the contract's like. What his new team is like. How many years now. The Raptors, they were getting that well-balanced type game that they've needed when they've won, right? You look on paper and you go, this is the type of game that they needed to win. Siakam had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Kawhi had 26 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He wasn't playing great early, but then he went on that run. He's not been shooting well, but he's always two-way playing and playing great defense. Gasol had 17 points, 8 rebounds, and a couple assists. Lowry had 18 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a steal. Ibaka had 15 points. Van Fleet had 11 points, and he had 3 threes. But then you got all those contributions, but Danny Green. Remember how good Danny Green was early in the series in the last game? They lose by 1, and in 33 minutes, Danny Green was 0 for 4 from 3. If he makes 1 3-pointer, they win. It's crazy to think about, right? Because there are so many different things that happen throughout a game, and it could be a million different things. Any turnover, any missed free throw, any this or that. But you just get 1 3 from Danny Green, who's out there on the court for 33 minutes, and he's playing hard, good defense, though. He's not like he's out there not doing anything. But just 1 3-pointer of those 4 that goes in, it was 25% we're asking for. Now we go Game 6 at Golden State with no Durant. What's going on with Looney? Is he going to play? So what does Golden State's roster look like? Draymond, Curry, Klay, Iguodala. Okay, you have those 4. Then you have Cousins, Jordan Bell, Alfonso McKinney, Bogut, Livingston, Quinn Cook, Jonas Jerebko. I mean, we're still talking about 4 players that are all-stars. 5 if you talk about a former all-star and Iguodala, legitimate players, but Iguodala is past his prime. Clay's not as good as Clay's playing right now. He's still, you can't say he's 100% after his recent injury. And then the Cousins isn't, himself. So this team, one thing, a lot of people don't think about, if you don't have Durant to start the season, or, you have other people filling in the money or the spots where Durant would be. The previous Golden State teams had a little bit better bench. They had Harrison Barnes there instead of a Durant. And so it's not that they just didn't have Durant. They had other players filling those roles. And you look at Toronto just on paper, right? Their roster is better. Kawhi. And then you get Siakam, Lowry, Marc Gasol, Danny Green, Powell, Ibaka, Van Fleet. That's not a bad 1 through 8. It's really not. You have options with your bigs. You have options with your guards. You have Kawhi who can handle the ball. They're very versatile. They're very well built, but they gave the Warriors an opportunity, another chance. Because I think the Warriors are going to win Game 6. I do. I think it's going 7 now. But I picked the Warriors all along. I've been against Toronto in 3 consecutive series. I'm not afraid to admit that, but it's not that I'm against them. These games are awesome. I don't mind if Toronto wins. I just picked against them in a prediction. It wasn't that I dislike Toronto and don't want them to win. I genuinely thought Philly would beat them. They lost in Game 7 there. Genuinely thought Milwaukee would beat them. They handled Milwaukee. Isn't it crazy how quickly things turn for Toronto, right? They were down 1-0 to Orlando. They were down 2-1 to Philly and down 2-0 to Milwaukee. And they were up 3-1, now 3-2. How big are these next game or two as far as determining the future of Kawhi? If they win, does he stay in Toronto? Here's the thing. Golden State won this game with Toronto playing well on the road, the Durant injury. In the last couple minutes, they had a Draymond backcourt violation, DeMarcus Cousins offensive goaltending, and a moving screen. He was getting taken advantage of on defense. 2 goaltendings, really, in a moving screen. In the last 5 minutes, and they still won. They had that, offensive goaltending, backcourt violation, Cousins moving screen, in that last few minutes alone, and they still win the game. That's scary, because it feels like Toronto just had the opportunity to put them away. Folks, if you can, get on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review. That's What G Said podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you listening. And give us one of those 5 stars. That's huge for me, those 5 stars, ratings and reviews. You hear me like a broken record talking about them a lot, but they're a big deal for us moving up the charts and helping us get our show out there. So subscribe. That's What G Said. Leave a nice 5-star rating and review. You could also subscribe on YouTube. You'll get the episodes there as well. Next episode, we'll talk some Raiders, Hard Knocks, MLB, who's hot, who's not, WWE, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Continuing on with the NBA Finals, what's going to happen next? Some more boxing, Tyson Fury fight, recap the GGG, what's going on with them next, horse racing, give you some bets for the weekend, some races to play, we'll talk a little billions, and then Big Little Lies recap and preview. Thanks for tuning in again, folks. Joey, take it away.